It's Gingle and Zooble and Kinger too. Ragatha Jackson is Pomni, who day after day after day after day after day after.
You know me, an OG, pick only what's OP, and nobody owe me nothing but a trophy and a fat check. With mad zeros like tempo, put my enemies in boxes like bento.
Hey everyone, Speedy Temple here, and I'm back with another reaction. This time it's to another new channel I haven't reacted to before on my channel. This time it is the Film Theory channel, or I should say just say the Theorists, because they got a whole bunch of channels: Game Theory, Film Theory, Food Theory, and now Style Theory, as well as GT Live. So this is my first time reacting to a video of theirs, and it's kind of appropriate because it's about a thing I actually reacted to pretty recently, and it is the Amazing Digital Circus. And the title is The Amazing Digital Circus is Lying to You. Now, since I did react to the pilot episode last week, or a week or so ago, I have watched other people react to it, and I've also watched other, people analyze the episode and try to figure out what's going on. In fact, I even watched MatPat, or Matt. He did a GT Live episode where he watched the whole episode and kind of looked for clues and whatnot. So I guess this is like the culmination of his analysis. So this should be interesting. I have some theories of my own, of course, and I'm going to see if any of them kind of match with what he has going on. So, without further ado, let's get started. In 3, 2, 1, go. Here we got the computer, this Kane. Pomni going through Stanley Parable. Zooble choking Jax, as I'm sure a lot of us would like to.
There is no escape. Ever.
Yeah, it's true. Seemingly.
Hello, Internet. Welcome to Film Theory, the
Nice.
show that'll be theorizing day after day after day after day after day, and we don't know why. Let's talk about the Amazing Digital Circus, shall we?
You, my friend, stumbled into an incredible world of wonders where anything can happen except
For swearing.
In case you aren't caught up with this one, this is the latest series from the creative geniuses over at Glitch Productions. This one was written, produced, and directed by Gooseworks, a talented artist who also composed music for both Has-Been Hotel and Hell of a Boss.
Oh,
And their
really?
Creativity and
Didn't know that.
experience really come through with this one. I gotta say, you guys went crazy recommending this one to us across comments, GT Live, and our subreddit. And it's pretty easy to see why. Between the amazing animation, gifable moments, an incredible cast of characters, and a storyline wrapped up in like 18 different layers of mystery, this is the perfect show for us to dive into. Which
Definitely.
means that if you haven't watched the first full episode yet, go
Which I did.
do it. Watch it after this theory. Though I'd be
check the
surprised if you
eye
hadn't, 'cause this
somewhere in
thing
the corner.
already has like 30 million views across the platform. It is doing much.
I think it's like 70,000.
But just
That's
so
70
we're all
million
on the
now.
same page for today's theory,
Of course, I tweeted that it had a
highly
69 million.
Omni, who's thrust into a strange digital world styled after a circus, alongside 5 other humans: Jax, the lovable jerk; Ragatha, the sweet
Yep.
optimist; Gangle, who can't hide her emotions; Zooble, who's made out of a bunch of random objects; and
Yeah.
Kinger, who's been trapped there the longest and has gone kind of crazy as a result. The
Yep.
whole circus is run by a ringleader named Kane, who, according to the show's website, is a quote wacky AI, and all of the humans are just subject to his every whim and desire.
Definitely
You're
wacky.
right, Jax. We should have a brand new adventure for our new member, Pomni.
Said that like 5 minutes ago.
Whoever don't necessarily want to go on these adventures.
I love
They're
that-
constantly
love that
trying
line.
to find ways of getting out. This has even driven some of them insane, leaving
Like
them
Kaufmo.
abstracted, where they evolve into monsters. Case in point, the clown Kaufmo was obsessed with finding the exit, and abstracts just before Pomni shows up.
Oh, Kaufmo's
Been abstracted.
It's okay.
Okay.
What is that?
And yet, even when Pomni does get herself to the exit in this pilot episode, it doesn't
Quote,
go
unquote,
anywhere.
exit.
It's just endless hallways and office spaces repeating. It is basically the back rooms. As it
Yeah.
turns out, Kane made this fake exit, hoping to give the humans what they wanted. He just didn't know what to put on the other side.
I do have to apologize for lying about the exit. I was having so much trouble figuring out what to put on the other side and ended up never quite
Finishing it.
And more or less, that's where we leave the colorful cast of the Amazing Digital Circus after this first episode. Now, already there's there's just so much world building here for us to dig into. So many questions posed that we want the answers to. Like, who's behind the Amazing Digital Circus?
Yes.
Is there an actual way out, or are they just trapped forever? Are characters like Kaufmo really gone, or can they be brought back in some way? And sorry
I feel
to
like they
say, I
can.
don't have a whole lot of answers for those things.
I mean, it's only like 25 minutes to go through.
The first episode, they've done the wise thing and not given us a whole lot of answers. But I do think they've given us plenty here to theorize about. So
Yeah, definitely.
here are 3 Amazing Digital Circus theories. Don't run for the exit doors yet, my friends. We're going in. Let's start things off a bit small scale here. Theory number 1, everything in the show is literally a video game set in the late 1990s. Now,
Yeah, it
there's
seems pretty
a lot in
obvious.
just this one episode that paints this as a video game world. For example, right at the beginning, we see a pixelated title card for the show that's obviously in the style of old school PC, PlayStation, and N64
Like
games.
Super Mario 64.
This is further driven home in a secret video that you can find if you go to wackywatch.com.
Oh, yeah, I saw him
the
find
URL
this.
shown on
That was
screen during
interesting.
the episode, which shows us the main menu for this game.
Yeah.
We also see a flower pot fall to the ground and clip into it, kind of like an old school source engine glitch. Kane
Yeah.
mentions that he created the digital world in the weird backrooms office area in a way that's very similar to how a game developer would create world spaces. Plus, when Pomni first enters the world, she says this.
I put on
It's a
some
weird headset, yeah.
weird headset, and now I'm here.
Again, directly implying that the whole thing is a game. She put on a VR headset and was transported into the world of the digital circus. All of that checks out and should be pretty darn obvious to the casual viewer. But what you
Yeah.
might have missed is the fact that this is set in the late 1990s and
Right.
not the present day, like you might expect from something talking about using VR headsets. And there is a lot of circumstantial
Definitely did think
evidence
that
points us to this
when she said
conclusion.
headset.
First of all, basically all the tech that we see throughout the series seems to be pulling straight from the 90s. Anytime we see a computer in the show, it's always the white boxy styled CRT
Yeah,
monitors
exactly.
and large white computer towers reminiscent of models made by companies like Dell and Gateway back in the 90s and early 2000s.
Yep.
And this is both in the actual episode and in the off-site material as well. In that same Wacky Watch commercial, we see a real-life computer with the same old-school design. What's more, the beginning of this Wacky Watch video says that this was an old tape recovered on a date that's censored. And given the degradation on that tape, it implies that not only is this video old, but it was also recovered in the past as well. But this goes beyond just the tech that's used in the series. Many of the characters and iconography from the show are very reminiscent of popular characters and ideas from the late
Yes,
90s and early 2000s.
very much.
Pomni's gesture design takes a lot of cues from Sega's old Nights into Dream series.
Yeah, they
Jax
mentioned that in the
shares
video,
design
too.
Inspiration and a similar name with Max, the rabbit from the Sam and Max games. Bubble clearly takes cues from Super Mario's
Chain Chomp.
Chomps. Jax and Gangle were both inspired by characters like Poppy the Performer, an old Japanese 3D animated series, while Kane and the Digital Circus
That's
setup
something.
very reminiscent of the villain and plot of I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, a short story by Harlan Ellison adapted into a point-and-click adventure game in 1995. Any way you slice it, it's very clear that the creators want the show to have the same 90s vibe that we're all so nostalgic for right now. But you might be thinking, hold on, they're talking about VR headsets here. That's a modern thing, right? Wouldn't this thing
No.
just be inspired by the 1990s rather than set in the 1990s?
Pretty sure Nintendo made
a lot of
a
advances
VR
in
headset
virtual reality
sort of thing.
technology have only been made across the last decade.
Like in
especially when
the
we're talking about
90s,
gaming. That
80s.
doesn't mean that VR technology
What's it
didn't
called, the
exist back in the
Superboy or
1990s.
something like
And I'm
that?
not just talking about the rudimentary black and red wireframes of the Virtual
Yeah,
Boy.
there it is.
either.
Virtual Boy,
Back
that's
in
what it was.
1991, Sega announced the Sega VR. In 1993,
91.
Virtuality created the Mega Visor display. And in 1995, Fort Technology hit us with the VFX-1 headset, just to name a few. And
Wow,
looking at
3 in the
old
early
footage of all
90s.
these things, it doesn't look too dissimilar to the sort of world that we see
Yeah,
in
it looks
Amazing
exactly
Digital
like it.
Circus. Simple flat textures, rudimentary shapes and polygons. There's
Mm.
not a lot of detail here, but that's for good reason. These headsets, they couldn't handle a lot of detail. True story,
Yeah,
I actually
I think
have
it was
some first-hand
huge.
experience with these rudimentary headsets.
I thought my
The
Oculus
Great
looked
Lakes
big,
Science
or was
Center in
big and
Cleveland,
heavy.
Ohio, actually had a special exhibit on VR technology in its basement when I was a kid, and it blew my mind. With the amount of wires and cables these things took to run, it felt like you were jacking into the Matrix, and you had to wait 45 minutes to put on one of these headsets, but all of a sudden, you were dropped into a video game. It was simple. I was walking through a purple field with a bunch of green triangular mountains in the background, but it was effective, and it captured my imagination for decades since. So much so that even though it was a 5-minute experience that happened in my life like 2 decades ago, I still remember it vividly to this very day. Anyway, MatPat childhood stories aside, the long and short of all of this, everything that we see in the series is pointing to this taking place in the past and not in the present. All of this
Right.
has already happened from our perspective. We're just watching the events of the game unfold. So now that we know that we're in a 1990s video game here, let's dig a bit deeper, shall we? Theory number 2, Pomni helped create this hell simulation that they're currently stuck in.
Really?
Pretty bold claim, so what would make me say that? Well, a couple of things. Firstly, one of the scenes that really jumped out to me while I was watching and rewatching the pilot was the sequence
yeah, that
where
she finds a
Pomni's
computer
running
and
through
she
the
has, like,
bathrooms
a
on the other side of the exit door. At one
Very
point, she enters a more
big
traditional
reaction to it.
office space with computers and cubicles before stopping and staring at one desk in particular. This is played as a big moment. We linger on this shot for a long time as a classic horror-esque dolly zoom hits both the desk and Pomni before she has herself a psychological break. The lights start to flicker and she cackles uncomfortably before running on. The whole thing is really menacing and off-putting and clearly meant to leave us with a big impression. Why? Well, because this desk isn't just some simulation that Kane cooked up in the back rooms. It's based on a real place in the real world of this universe outside of the simulation.
Right.
The place that we actually see in the episode. At the very
At
end,
the very
right
end,
before
yeah.
the credits roll, we zoom out of the circus and through the void, revealing that all of this has been taking place inside of a computer. That makes sense. We've already established that this right here is a big old simulation. But take a look at the computer and the desk. It's the exact same setup that we saw earlier in the episode in the back room section.
Right.
The same old equipment on the left, the same file cabinets on the right, the same retro monitor and keyboard and computer tower and speakers, the same VR headset and headphones. This is exactly the same. But clearly this one's in the real world. Not only have we literally zoomed out of the computer, implying that we're no longer in said simulation, but the lighting in the scene is much more natural. It's warmer. Sunlight is streaming through the nearby window, all at an angle because the sun's lower in the sky. This is not the flat computer simulation lighting that we've been seeing throughout the rest of the episode. That right there, the desk and computer setup existing both in the simulation and in the real world, is already a pretty interesting point, but why then would it break Pomni? What causes her to go off the deep end?
That's
and
her
start
desk
laughing?
and a computer.
Subconsciously, Pomni
sure.
recognizes that this is her desk. At the beginning of the episode, they make it clear that Pomni has lost her human memories. But this, I believe, is triggering a deep realization inside of her. Based on what we're given here, I believe that Pomni's human persona is an employee at CNA, the company developing the Digital Circus game and VR headset. And seeing it here inside the game unlocks some weird flash of her memory as to what's happening to get her into this situation. She's trapped in the very game that she helped to create. It's ironic, hence why she laughs. It's funny. It's darkly funny. I can see this being a huge reveal down the line, and one that could be potentially devastating for all the rest of our characters. For Pomni, obviously, but also for all the other characters who are trapped in here who would be seeing her as the one to blame for their current imprisonment. Also, real quick, super short micro theory. I don't think we have enough information to figure out what the initials in the company name C and A stand for, but one possibility
I've heard
that did
theories
jump out
like
to me
Cain
could
and Abel.
potentially stand for Cain and
Yeah.
Abel, partially named after the AI ringleader of the simulation Cain, which could then lead itself to a lot of interesting story possibilities. You see, Cain and Abel are a pair of
Also,
brothers,
someone
the sons of
theorized
Adam
that
and
Bubble
Eve,
is supposed to
with Cain
represent
ultimately
Abel,
killing his brother
since
and
Bubble
creating
and
the
Abel
first
kind of
ever
sound
murderer in the world.
similar.
Anyway, you know how we love
Kind of a
ourselves
stretch,
good
but
biblical reference here, and I just wanted to mention
Cain
it
does
to get more
poke
clues
Bubble
in future
and
episodes. But something
pop
that we
him-
do
pop
have
it
more
a
than
lot,
enough
so.
to say about theory number 3. All the characters aren't actually humans trapped inside the digital circus. Instead, they're all digital copies of the brains of humans who've put on these headsets. Cloned
Oh,
and
okay, so it's
forced into the
like
simulation.
Soma.
Now this is a pretty big swing. I mean, Pomni's first line of the series is practically, "Oh no, I'm a human who put on a headset and now I'm trapped here." And then Kane follows it up with this.
My! It appears a new human has entered this realm!
Human. He calls her a human. And that actually lines up with what we've seen with the official synopsis, explicitly calling Pomni and the others humans, in contrast to Kane being an AI. Quote from that synopsis: "A woman gets trapped in a crazy virtual world along with 5 other humans and are now subject to the whims of wacky AI and their own personal traumas." Plus, I just personally like the image of a bunch of people strapped into these VR headsets a la Sword Art Online. But all of that being said, I believe
I've seen some Sword Art Online parallels made,
pointing towards
too.
these characters being computerized clones rather than actual humans. For instance, as I mentioned above, Pomni starts going a bit crazy when she sees her desk from the real world in the circus's back rooms. But think, what was actually on that desk? A headset. Pretty clearly a headset that is not on any human's head. And that's
Right.
not just a thing in the simulation, it's also on the desk in the real world too that we see in the final shot of the pilot. If there's a
Right.
human trapped in the digital circus here with a headset firmly planted on their head that they can't get off, shouldn't they, be stuck there with the headset on their head? Given the
True.
little that we have to go off of right now, it makes more sense that Pomni put on the headset, had her consciousness copied into the game, and then she just took off the headset to go home. Meanwhile, Pomni in the game can't take it off because she's not a flesh and blood human anymore. She's a
Right.
digital copy whose memories begin the moment the headset was put on. And even if we're wrong and this desk isn't Pomni's, all the other characters went through this exact same process when they first joined, as Jax hinted at when he sarcastically said,
How do I take this headset off?
Just keep grabbing at it. That worked for all of us.
They all tried the exact same thing, and it didn't work for any of them. They're all digital copies grasping at a VR headset that isn't there anymore. But you know the thing that really convinced me of this theory? The mannequins. Yeah, did you notice these guys? All throughout the episode,
Yeah, I
we see
did.
several artist mannequins populating the circus. You know, these are the things that artists will sometimes buy to help them get references for poses. Most prominently, we see them in the restaurant with Kane and Bubble acting as background characters.
Yeah.
But why would they matter? Well, we know that Kane can create NPCs.
Kane, is this one of your NPCs or is this a new sucker?
So maybe these mannequins are just random, nameless characters that Kane made up to fill in the circus. Maybe, but that just doesn't sit right with me. First off, the dolls are clearly capable of emotions. We see one get upset when Pomni interrupts it taking a bath, silently screaming at Pomni until she slams the
Silently
door.
screaming.
There's something more going on here.
That's
than
an
just these
oxymoron.
things being background extras. Take a look at this. When Ragatha is showing Pomni to her room, there are several other doors for other characters in the background. This
Right.
is actually a great piece of world building. We see that each of the current characters have themselves their own rooms, as well as several
Some of the
other
mannequins,
characters that
too.
we haven't met yet. There's this
Yeah.
colorful one that I can't quite make out, what looks to be a pinkish purple goo monster, some sort of cute doggo, green and orange anteater looking guy, black queen chess piece that I'm gonna guess is named Queenie, seems to be Kinger's counterpart, implying that he didn't come into the simulation alone. Regardless,
Yeah.
all of these portraits have giant
I've seen
red
that theory
X's
being thrown
on
around,
them,
too.
and that checks out. These are likely characters that have abstracted in the past, just like Kaufmo did. We even see other abstracted creatures in the cellar when
Right.
Kane banishes Kaufmo. Anyway, along with these past and current characters, we also see several doors with blank mannequins on them.
Yeah.
Not just one, but multiple doors.
I always kind of
Guess
assumed
what's
that those
going
were
on
like
here? When a
empty
new human
doors,
enters the game,
but
these rooms transform
empty
into one
rooms.
that's appropriate for
Yeah.
them, and the mannequin on the door transforms into their character. And what's more,
Yeah.
I believe that there's a mannequin in the game that also transforms into that character. Right now, they're placeholders, but they get molded into these human copies whenever someone.
The thing is, though, we
puts
see
on the
Pomni, like,
headset, and their
pop
brain
in,
gets
literally,
scanned into
so-
the system. That would fit thematically with the idea of the mannequins to begin with. They're supposed to be used as references and then turned into something real when you're using them for your artwork. That would also fit with the fact that they're on the doors of all these empty rooms, and the characters being scanned clones of human brains would fit the fact that they can't take off their headsets, despite us seeing a headset not being worn at a desk that is clearly meant to be Pomni's. It just all fits with what we've seen from the series so far. In short, the series is gaslighting us. It isn't about a bunch of humans trapped in a simulation, it's about a bunch of human consciousnesses that have been scanned into an AI system and then mapped onto blank mannequin bodies, where the computer can then simulate their human behavior and push their buttons to the breaking point, learning the weaknesses of the human psyche. And then, when they've had too much and abstract out of the system, well, then you just boot up another new simulation and try again. There is no exit door, just an endless loop of torturous tests run by Kane as he tries to understand the human experience. Just like a real circus,
interesting.
all of it is just a big performance. But hey, you know what character in the show that I think is criminally underrated? Bubbles! This adorable little
Yeah.
bubble doggo seems like they're willing to eat just about anything, but I know for a fact they would absolutely love the food from the sponsor of today's episode,
Sundays?
Dog Food. If you've followed the channel for a
Oh,
while, you'll know
okay.
that I've always been more of a cat person, but a lot of Team Theorists are dog owners and absolutely adore their furry friends. And so when I told them about Sundays, they loved what Sundays was all about. Why wouldn't they be? Sundays is basically the best dog food in the digital multiverse. Unlike a lot of other brands, all of Sundays dog food is human grade. You see, the whole company was started by a vet
So even
who
I
wanted
could
the
eat it.
food her dog ate to
What
be
you
as
saying?
nutritious as a real home-cooked meal. That means no hyper-processed chemicals or synthetic vitamins. If you look at the label, you're actually going to be able to pronounce everything that's going into Sundays because it's all the stuff that you're already
Mixed
likely
taco
eating yourself.
Ferreros-
And unlike other
Ferreros?
healthy dog foods,
I can't pronounce
Sundays
that.
requires no prep, no defrosting, and no cleanup. All it requires is a dog to enjoy eating it, which honestly shouldn't be that hard. It's already hard-coded into the game system. For example, one of our team members, Rachel, volunteered to let us film her pup Stevie trying the food out for the first time. And the results just really speak for themselves. Look at this. Even though Stevie is super shy around new people, as soon as we broke out the Sunday, she really opened up and basically started drooling despite all the new faces with cameras. And just look at her go into that food. I'm not sure I've ever loved anything I've eaten quite as much as this dog is loving that Sundays. If you want to give your dog this awesome vet-created dog food made from real ingredients that you'd actually find on your own dinner plate, you can get 35% off your first order by clicking the link in the pinned comment below and then using our code FILMTHEORY at checkout. Once again, that's 35% off your first order by going to the link in the pinned comment below and then using the code
I'd probably do this if I had a dog.
FILMTHEORY. Thanks
So I
again
can't
to
afford a
Sundays
dog
for
right now.
sponsoring this episode, and as always,
Like
my friends,
no-
remember, it's all just a theory.
no way to order.
Film theory. And
Murder
cut.
Drones lore. I need to watch that video after I watch Murder Drones itself. I think I was reacting to Murder Drones. Looks pretty interesting. Alright, well that is my reaction to Film Theory's first video on the Amazing Digital Circus. And I have to say that he makes a lot of good points. In fact, he made a lot of these points during the video, the GT live video, where he basically reacts to the pilot episode. So he's just basically kind of rehashing what his initial thoughts were. Though when he mentioned that the desk was empty at the end in that video, I wasn't really thinking along the same lines that there should be someone in that chair with the VR headset on. But I didn't actually think about that until I saw this picture on Twitter that was an artist showing what the human versions of the main six characters in the show would look like as a human, and they have the VR headset on and they're slumped in their chair like this while the headset is on, and you see their counterparts in the monitor like trapped. But yeah, it was a pretty cool artist rendering of what that could possibly look like. Also kind of chilling and kind of scary to think about. But yeah, this was a great theory video. I basically agree with everything he said, and it'll be interesting to see if they explain more of what's going on in the episodes that they have, if the pilot gets picked up by someone or if they decide to continue it on by themselves. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens later in the story. But that will be all for my reaction today. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, leave a like and leave a comment down below, and subscribe for more if you want to see more of my reactions and other video ideas I have. But until next time, I've been Speedy Tempo, and I'm out. See you guys.